Okay, good morning, everyone. It's nice to see you all today. So we are starting chapter 5. We are up to chapter 5, and that starts on page 174. Again, page 174, day 56. They're calling this chapter Consistency Habits of Greatness. All right, so how to create habits of greatness. That's what they're calling it. But let's get cracking. It's a very interesting question that we're going to be talking about right now, and then hopefully we'll expand on this idea. And the dilemma is like this, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. The dilemma is like this, right? The owner of your local grocery. So back in the day, right, they have this a lot in Israel still. In larger metropolitans, they have this. You have your local convenience store, your local grocery. You get friendly with them. You know the owner, and you share birthdays and you share family simchas and all that kind of stuff. So, not like these big. Nothing against these big shopping centers like Publix and Walmarts and all that kind of stuff and Winn-Dixie's, right? Where you get to know them, but it's not the owner. The owner is who knows where, and it's all computerized and whatever it is, right? But when you have your local grocery or store or whatever it is, your corner store, your barber that you go to, or anything that is something that you have more of a personal relationship, and the person that's usually, charging you, or you're ringing you up. That's a better word. It's ringing you up is usually the owner itself. So the owner of a local grocery store gives fast, friendly service. Excuse me. However, several times upon examining your receipt, you notice that some items are being rung up twice. Right? This happens. This actually happens in big department stores. It has happened to me also. Happens to everybody. And the owner always provides a refund when you point it out to him, but it happens fairly regularly. Right? You notice it happens fairly regularly. Now, do the other customers know? How many of them actually look at their receipts? Should you warn them? Right, so the question's like this, right? We're not talking about someone that is malicious. Right? He's a friendly guy, nice guy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I rung up. While you're talking, you're trading pictures of your great grandkids, the bas mitzvah or bar mitzvah, whatever it is, right? You're trading stories or vacations or whatever it is, and by mistake, it rungs it twice, or if he types it in, he by mistake put it in twice. But the problem is that it's happening more often than not. Not every day, but it happens every once in a while, more than just, that was a one-time coincidence. So you don't want to talk negative about the person. You don't want to talk about negative about the person because you're a nice person. But the thing is over here, right? Do you have that obligation to other customers? You could be hurting this person's business. But it's true. Does true make a difference? And you have the evidence, you have everything. So the question is, what should you do? Any thoughts, my friends?
Good morning, Avi.
Good morning.
I always have thoughts, even if they're a bit deranged.
Hey.
I've not looked at the answer.
Good.
I'm assuming it's innocent, that the gentleman is just not paying attention. And so I would tell my friends, because it wouldn't be anything malicious or mean or derogatory about him. I would say sometimes I think he just goes too fast and things get rung up twice, and you might want to be careful.
Okay, I hear that. Anybody else?
What about talking to him? Telling him, this has happened several times. I'm a little concerned about it.
Okay, good. That's another good answer. Anybody else? Okay, so you both actually have excellent answers. Let's see what they say, and we're going to expand on this a little bit. So the first stop should be the owner. Very good, Marilyn. Right. First stop you should do is go to the owner. Right. However, if the situation does not change, you are obligated to warn other customers to check their receipts carefully. You should not imply that the owner is dishonest, like Jim said, right? He may be careless or have trouble scanning the items. However, the other customers should be warned in order to prevent a loss. All right, so you guys both together and gave the correct answer. And number one, you have to go to the owner, right? And you say, hey, buddy, right? We're friends. I don't think it's done on purpose. And you refund right away. And you're always like apologetic and everything. But, I've noticed that this happens more times than not. Maybe, go a little slower, maybe get glasses. I don't know, you have to be careful what you say, not to make the person feel bad also. Right? But you have to go to the person first. You have to give the person the opportunity to change, right? And to fix the problem, right? Now, if it doesn't, you also have an obligation to everybody else, right? That they shouldn't be losing money, right? The difference over here is, my friends, and we've sort of talked about this a little bit, but we're really entering something called rechilus, right? We were speaking about lashon hara, right? Until now, primarily we talk about lashon hara. Lashon hara is bad talk, right? Lashon literally means the tongue, right? The tongue represents the concept of speech, right? The lashon hara is bad talk. Why is it bad talk? Because A, it's false. B, it's hurtful, right? C, there's no benefit to it. And go through the list of all the things that we spoke about, not saying things not for a positive reason, right? And toelis, for the purpose. But bottom line is, step number one of lashon hara is that it's not true. Rechilus, right? Rechilus is when you are peddling, as we said, rechilus is peddlers, right? Rachel ba'amecha. That's, if you remember all the way, the first class we gave, right? I don't remember when it was, right? But I wouldn't say 56 days ago, but maybe 56 weeks ago, right? Where we've done a couple of classes, sometimes more than one class a day. So I don't know, a couple of months ago, but we could look it up. But that's not the point, right? Right? But the first class that we gave, the first or second class that we gave, we spoke about that rechilus means a peddler, right? That's a rechilus. Now a peddler, right? He peddles true information. He's peddling information. Rechilus does not mean to say that he's a liar. Rechilus does not mean to say that he's just a gossiper and saying things that he might know, might not know. We spoke about those things, right? That is under the category of lashon hara. Now there's the category of rechilus. Rechilus is when the information is true. Now we said rechilus is bad also, right? That's the words that the Torah used. Do not be a peddler of information amongst your friends when it's true. But the difference is when something is true and that true fact is harming other people, right? So then that's part of the toelis package, right? That's when we start playing with toelis. And over here, right, this is something that other people might be losing money, right? It might be $1 here, $5 here, right? A couple of dollars there, but A, it adds up. B, every dollar is $1, right? It says that Jacob went back for pachim ketanim, for the small vessels, right? We should not take for granted even the dollar, right? Even the small vessels. We have to realize that whatever God gives us is a gift, right? And we have to utilize that for the right reason. And we shouldn't say, it's probably just $1 or $2. It's not a big deal. It's, if you feel it's $1 or $2 for yourself and you decide, I don't want to make a big stink about it, that's up to you, right? But someone else's $1 or $2, that's not your right to say, it's not such a big deal. Money, a person's possessions is their possessions. And therefore, every loss, and every loss is a loss. And you have that obligation to make sure that if you know that something's happening, you have to try to do your best that you can within the confines of halacha to make sure that they don't lose anymore. So the first step is go to the owner. That's why the first step is go to the owner. Try to take care of the problem, right, from the source of the problem. Now, if you see that, again, the owner is good meaning, he doesn't, he's not doing it on purpose, he has a hard time, it's whatever, he has a kid, who knows? All good, legitimate reasons. But at the end of the day, customers are still they might still be losing money. So you have to go very nicely, right? And how to do that? I would personally probably consult with a rabbi, right? Even though they don't say that over here, or they've said it many times. But I would consult with a rabbi to make sure what's the proper conduct. You put up signs. You put up signs, it goes out. Everybody's going to start talking. Someone put up a sign, right? you have to be very careful, right? You have to be very careful how, right, to give that information to your friends, people that you know that go to the store, not to stand outside, and right? But you have to be very careful how to give over that information, right? A, in a nice and kind way, not saying that the person's doing it maliciously. B, also how you give over the information, right? Where you give over the information is a big part of it. And people don't realize that. I said very nicely. I said, guys, you're standing outside the store and say, hey, everybody, I just want to let you know, right? The owner, he doesn't mean wrong, it doesn't mean bad, right? He's a good guy, he's a friendly guy, right? We're all friends with him, but you guys better check your receipts, right? You're being nice, but where you're doing it, it's a whole it's a whole thing, right? And it changes the whole situation, right? So Chaile, you said maybe the when he does a mistake will be benefits. That's not your decision to make, right? If he charged over, if he didn't charge enough or whatever it is, right? It's not for you to start making that calculation of, oh, maybe it'll even out and therefore people are not really losing money. It is, because if the owner made a mistake, yes, you should go ahead and tell him if you catch it. But if he made a mistake where he's losing money, right? That's very different than he's making that own mistake for himself, right? Doesn't mean to say that it evens out of if he made a mistake charging people too much. It doesn't work that way, right? Yes, if he made a mistake, you should go back, right? It's the right thing to do, right? And you should say, hey, and he might just say, okay, don't worry about it, right? That's his decision. But to say that it evens out that way, right? It doesn't even out that way. Any questions or comments on this? Okay. Okay, let's move on to the next one, okay? Let's move on to page 176. We're going to move on today. Okay, next case is like this, the dilemma. Your sister bought a house and wants to replace the carpet before she moves in, right? She doesn't shop around, right? She heads straight to Carpet Castle, right, where her friend works. Nice name, right, of a store. Right, Carpet Castle, where a friend works as an interior designer. You know that the same brands are selling for much lower prices at the Floor and More, whatever, another store. May you share this information with her without speaking lashon hara about Carpet Castle and harming its property, right? So what you want like this, and this is a typical thing, right? For whatever reason, you're shopping around for a car, right? Clothes, if it's carpets for a house, refrigerators, whatever it is, something significant. Everybody knows that you could get stuff a little cheaper in Walmart. There's sales here, sales there, but something significant that usually there's different brands, different things. But this person doesn't shop around. She heard it from a friend. I'm just going to go to where my friend is, and that's what I'm doing. I don't like shopping around. So could you go ahead and tell them that, in the other store, in whatever, Carpet and More, or Floor and More, or whatever the name of the store is, the retail carpets, right? It's much cheaper there, right? So you don't want to hurt the other person, right? The other store, right? You have to be careful how you say it, right? But at the same time, what you're doing is that person was going to go to that store. What you're doing is, and I want to explain the dilemma a little bit, because you're going to say, what's wrong? You're just helping your friend out. But by doing that, you're also harming the other person's business. And if she decides not to go ahead and do research, that's her prerogative. Right? If she did research, you'll see it's cheaper somewhere else. So it's her decision. Over here, right, you're going directly and harming the other person's business, right, by telling this person there's a sale somewhere else, that it's cheaper somewhere else. Right? Are you allowed to do that? Yes or no? Thoughts, my friends?
I'll start us again, I guess. That's my uncle Shmuley owns the Carpet Castle, by the way. And I kind of didn't think, I thought this was a little bit of you got to the very last part talking about it will harm their business. And so that's a little bit of a dilemma in my mind. But it's competition. The person who, her friend who works at the carpet knows it's competition. You're not speaking ill will. I certainly, if you had come to me and says, "Oh, I got this great deal on this," and I thought it, and not that it wasn't a fair price, but I knew somewhere that was $4,000 cheaper, I would almost feel obligated to tell you. Uh, I don't know. I think it's tougher than it looks on the outside, initially, rather. But I would tell the person that, by the way, this is a lot cheaper somewhere else, and then they can make their own decision from there.
Okay. Okay. I hear you. Anybody else? I hear what you're saying, and that's my first inclination also. Anybody else? No? No one else?
Well, you could just say to your friend, look, I'd like to give you the business, but this other, well, it's just like Jim said, but this other place has it like $4,000 cheaper. I'm going to have to, go there, but I just want to let you know that, I'm sorry, I'd like to give you the business, but, when it comes to $4,000, that's a lot of money.
So you're saying that it depends on the price. Let's say it's only $10 cheaper, right?
Well, it's $10
Two?
cheaper than you go.
Then
Just
you can
like,
say something. It depends if it's $5,000 or $150 or whatever it is, and then that's okay. But if it's $10 cheaper, then that's not okay. I'm just asking. I'm not saying.
well, yeah, I mean, I would just go on me if it's, $100 cheaper, that's not a big deal. So, I would go with the friend and just tell the friend, I want to give you the business and this such and such places, a little bit less, but I'm going to go with you. But if it's a huge amount, you got to take care of yourself too.
Right. So you're taking care of yourself. Over here, you what you're doing is, and I want to explain the dilemma because my initial reaction seeing this was like, Jim, like, what's the big deal? You're trying to help a friend, right? I'm not saying anything bad, right? But I want to help a friend, and it's a better thing. So it's a cheaper price, and I want to help a friend. So you're right. That is our reaction, and we have to remember that this is a reaction that we're looking from, as Jim said, it's competition and sort of the society that we're growing up in, and I'm not saying right or wrong, but the society that we're growing up in with competition, and a lot of times it's advertised and it's easily known and things like that. But at the same time, we have to realize, and this is where the dilemma is, in Jewish law, are you allowed to cause someone to lose money, right? Or lack of gaining money, right? Means to say potential, someone you're going to go and buy the thing. So it's as if you're making them lose money, right? By helping someone else out, right? So it's more of a deeper question, right? Of is this considered that you are harming the person? The lashon hara is harming, and rechilos, right? As I mentioned, we're really talking about rechilos over here. We sort of call everything lashon hara, right? Sort of that's the terminology we use for everything. This is really rechilos. It's true. Right? The idea of rechilos is not only something negative of harmful about the person, but it's also when you're going to say something that harms the person financially. It's going to harm the person, emotionally. It's going to harm the person, with his friends. It's going to harm the person in his marriage. It's going to harm the person for the future. But also, if it's going to harm the person financially, right? So if you're going to say, and if you're going to go and say that person, he's a cheater, right? And like the case before we had, right? The person's by mistake doing it extra, right? You don't want to harm the person, but at the same time, the other person's losing money. And that's why the two cases are right next to each other, right? The case we just spoke about beforehand was where you are preventing other people from losing money, right? There might be an outcome that people might stop shopping by him, but what you're doing is you're actually preventing other people from actually losing money, and therefore you're allowed to do that, right? Because there may be people stopping from shopping by him. Again, you can't say it in a negative way, right? You have to be very careful how you say it, right? Because then it falls under lashon hara, because you're going to embellish and things like that. Excuse me, and has to fit in the categories of toelas. But the reason why you're allowed to say something is not just because you're being a good Samaritan. It is because people actually might be losing money. Yes, so there's an outcome that this person might be losing money, but weighing the two things, right? We know for almost positive that people are going to lose money because it happened to you, probably happens to other people. And over here, some people might say, well, let's make sure we look over our groceries. We like this guy. We like shopping. It's convenient, blah, 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 blah. All right. We're over here, right? What are you doing? This person, right? They were going to go to the more expensive store. You're preventing them from spending more money, not losing money, right? Now, is that your right to do that by being a good friend? It's competition or whatever it is. But by them saying, oh, I'm going to go to that store and buy something, right? And that's the kind of person that they are, right? Because they don't shop around, whatever it is, right? So what you're doing really is you're making that store lose money. Now, we're not talking about a store which is cheating, right? And that's some of the things that they're going to talk about over there. We're not talking about a store that's cheaters. We're not talking about stores that were, they raise the prices so much that it's just, in halacha, there's a certain amount that you're not allowed to raise the price. I think legally also you're not allowed to raise the price over a certain amount, right? It's called price gouging, right? You're not allowed to do that, right? We're not talking about that. It's within reason, right? And there's different stores in between these different things. Now you just want to say, oh, if you go there, whatever, you'll get a cheaper price. So what you're really doing is you're making that person lose money, right? Yes, you're helping out a friend, right? But you're also making someone else lose money. So what is it? Why do you have the right to go ahead and help out this friend who was going to go buy it anyways? And okay, so they're going to save some money, right? They're not losing because they're planning on spending that money, right? By making that person lose money. That's really the deeper question that's going on in here. Is that considered like you are now saying, is that considered now that your words are harming someone else? And this is a great example of where in Jewish law, right, we don't look at just what seems right, right? We don't look at what, it's a friend, I want to help my friend. We also have to look at all the details of what really is the outcome of what you're saying, right? And see how it fits within Jewish halacha, right? Jewish law, right? Because you're right, I want to help a friend. But by helping my friend, right, I might be causing someone else to lose money. And my friend was planning on spending that money, right? And is that enough? By them saving money, is that equal to the other person losing money? Do you understand what I'm saying? Does it explain the question a little better, I hope? Okay, I'll take the silence as yes or no, right? But so let's see what they answer, right? Let's see what they answer. So they say like this: you're allowed to advise friends of a store where they can get better qualities or better prices, right? So there's another thing, right? It's better quality, right? Chayaleh pointed out, right? Price is the only. It's also customer service, of course, right? There's customer service and things like that, right? And that's all part of it. And this person says, yeah, I know there's other prices, but I know the store. I have a friend there. It's easier. And that's, of course, that's also part of why prices sometimes are more. The convenience of the store, it's close by, it's more eerie, it's good, it's a nicer, it's a better experience shopping. It's all part of what goes on, right? Better quality, better prices, but that allowance comes with several conditions. Number one, you have to know that this is the case firsthand, right? If not specific, don't know for sure, but I've heard. And you can't go and say, oh, I think I heard on the radio there's a carpet outlet, in St. Augustine, right, that has, rock bottom prices, right? You're not allowed to do that, right? You can't go ahead and say, I heard, I thought, I said, maybe I saw on, the radio, I heard on the radio, I saw an advertisement, right? Friend's friend told me, right? That person is planning on going there. So now you're going to send number one, you're sending that person a goose chase. Maybe it's the right thing, right? But you don't have firsthand knowledge. So by saying that person is more expensive, right? You're now putting something, it's not a bad thing, right? But it's still putting something in someone's head. When we think of more expensive, right? If we are people that are concerned about our finances, now we don't have millions of dollars to spend, right? But we are people. So then that always is something like, oh, that's a more expensive store. That is the human psyche to think, oh, that's a more expensive store. Now, yes, it's customer service and there's this and that, but That's a more expensive store, right? Some people won't walk into certain stores because they know it's more expensive. Oh, but they come and they give you a champagne to drink while you're shopping, and there's couches in there. Yeah, okay, but that's not something that I would ever think of walking into, right? So when you hear, oh, that's a more expensive store, I heard there's someone else, right? So it already puts something into the brain of the person, right, that they might not go in there anymore. Even if that other store doesn't work out, they might not go in there anymore, right? So you have to know firsthand that it's actually the prices are cheaper over there. You must be sure that the lower prices merchandise is the same quality, right, as a higher store. So you can't say, yeah, I know there's cheaper store, quality is not the same, things like that. So, but again, you're putting into, because the bottom line is you're putting now into the person's brain, right, that there's something cheaper, this store is more expensive, right? And now it puts doubts into the person to go into that store. Now the quality is not the same. There's other things not the same. So maybe the person will want to go ahead and get a less quality, right? But that's up to the person to go ahead and do the research. You don't have the right to go and do that, right? By putting that other store now in a negative light, not a negative as bad, but negative means to say that they might not go and shop there, right? In this person's brain, if the things are not equal. You must be certain that it's not stolen merchandise, okay, or not illegal knockoff, same idea. Finally, you have to relate the information with that and find anything negative about the higher price merchandise. And this is something that we have to be very careful. And this is something that I really want to think about, because we do this all the time. Oh, that store, yeah, that's, that's for high rollers, right? That's for the snuff people, right? That's for, yeah, it's great customer service and give you champagne, but you have to be, you have to be a millionaire or you have to be whatever to shop there, right? It's like, we have to be careful how we present our words also, because even if you have everything else, you have to make sure that the way you're presenting it is presented not by knocking the concept of higher, more expensive stuff. And it's common, right? Especially by people, which is probably the majority of the population, right? That can't afford going into that store, or they could afford, right? But it's something that, it's still a little up there. If you present it that, and I'm not saying the store is this way, maybe it is, right? But you cannot present it that way because that is a negative thing, right? To a certain class of people, that's called negative, right? Or it's jealousy or whatever it is. It comes from something negative, right? And you cannot present it that way. Be very careful, right? Above all, this kind of conversation is allowed only if someone is actually considering a purchase. Otherwise, it's lashon hara, right? Also, you have to make sure that the person's actually looking to buy something. And you can't, oh, I heard that store. This is the right conversation. No, I'm thinking of buying carpets. Whatever. I heard of thinking going to that store. And I said, oh, that store. I walked in there. I was like, I felt like I have to sell my house to buy a carpet, right? A, you're talking negative about the store. B, the person's not necessarily buying yet, right? And you already put something negative. And it has to be that it's actually latoelis. It's for a purpose. The person's actually planning on going to buy, right? You know the person's going to go tomorrow shopping, right, to that store. And you're not seeing it in a negative way, right? You know that the quality is almost the same, right? Within the same range, right? And you present it in a way of, hey, I just want to let you know, right? What you do is your decision, and there's pros and cons to every store, and every store is different. But hey, I just wanted to let you know, I was in this other store the other day, and they had very good prices, right? That's fine. That's a good way of doing it, right? You're making sure you're not saying negative about the other store, right? You know the person's going to buy. You have firsthand experience or knowledge, right? That is something that you're allowed to do, right? Because again, we have to be the Torah is very careful about people's possessions, right? And yes, you're trying to save this person $1 or $2, but if you don't know for sure if that person's going, and again, that person could talk to someone else and things could start spiraling. And before you know it, people start talking about carpet castle. It's carpet castle for noblemen's and noblewomen's, right? And that's what it becomes. Right? And people will say, I'm never going to go shopping there. I'm not even going to look at their flyers. I'm not even going to look at their things. It's not even something I'll ever think of buying. And things spiral out of control. We have to be very careful, right, about how we say things, that it doesn't affect the other person's business. Also, even if it might be true. Okay, we're just going to end with one quote. Happy is one who avoids this sin, lashon hara, for he is blessed by all of Israel together. Right? One who is avoids the sin of lashon hara, one who's careful with what they say, right, has a blessing, is blessed by all of Israel, by all the Jewish people, right? And it's because he's someone that's making sure that harm is not being put on other person or harming other person, making them happy and everything like that, right? So how careful we have to be, right, to make sure that we watch what we say. And even in a situation like this, which we think is harmless, right, the consequences could be devastating. Thank you everybody for joining us. Just a quick reminder that tomorrow night, and a separate flyer is going to go out today, we are having a wonderful program, right? And it's a program we call the Seed Program, right? We have some rabbis coming in. Some of them are coming in today already. And it's tomorrow night again, sorry. I'm just pulling up the flyer. Give me 1 second. Tomorrow night, there'll be a panel discussion with Rabbi Teichman, who's coming in, and our very own Colleen Rodriguez, right, from JFCA. And the topic is giving and misgiving. Is it ever appropriate to say no? When could we say no? And the flyer today will have some scenarios that will be talked about, and Rabbi Fish will be the moderator. It is at 7:30 tomorrow night at Eitz Chaim. It'll be live, so please join us. Come in, come by for this wonderful presentation and discussion, and there'll be other programs throughout Shabbos. Again, look forward to seeing you all, and I will stop the live stream.